Kody didn't just lose his marriage, he lost control. And instead of owning that, he did what he's always done when things slipped through his fingers. He blamed someone else. In this case, Christine. He stood there, on camera with a straight face, and claimed that Christine manipulated Janelle into leaving. As if Janelle, the most self-reliant, practical, financially independent wife in the entire family, was some naive follower who couldn't think for herself. That wasn't just an insult to Christine. It was a complete erasure of who Janelle has always been. Let's be honest. If you've watched even a few seasons of Sister Wives, you know Janelle has never needed anyone's permission to make a decision. She's the one who handled the family finances when no one else could. She's the one who made RV living work when there was no housing plan. And she's the one who spoke up when her kids were pushed aside. She didn't walk away because Christine told her to. She walked away because her own husband gave her no choice. The footage says it all. Janelle told Christine on camera that she had no plans to leave until Kody started treating her kids like strangers. Gabe and Garrison tried to speak up about how hurt they felt, how abandoned they were, and Kody called them disobedient. He showed up with accusations instead of apologies. And when Savannah didn't see her dad on Christmas, Janelle had to sit there and pretend it wasn't breaking her heart. That wasn't manipulation. That was a mother protecting her children from emotional neglect. And let's not forget, Christine never begged Janelle to leave. What she did do was lead by example. She drew a line in the sand. She said, "Enough is enough." And Janelle watched. She thought. She weighed her options. And when the same pattern repeated in her life, she chose herself and her kids. That's not being manipulated. That's realizing the truth and refusing to stay small for someone else's comfort. But Kody, instead of reflecting on why these women are walking away, points the finger at Christine again. Because if Christine's the problem, he never has to face that maybe the problem is actually him. Kody loves to throw around words like manipulation, but he never seems to look in the mirror. Because while he's busy accusing Christine of being some master puppeteer, the truth is, he's been dancing on Robyn's strings for over a decade. The irony is almost too much. He calls Christine manipulative for speaking her truth, but he can't seem to make a single family decision without Robyn's influence whispering in his ear. The pattern is clear if you've been watching closely. Robyn doesn't yell. She doesn't push. But she knows exactly how to position herself. The tears, the soft voice, the carefully timed breakdowns, they're always just enough to steer Kody in her direction without him even realizing he's being led. He trusts her judgment above everyone else's. That's not a marriage, it's a power dynamic. When the pandemic hit, Kody's house rules became a battleground. But who was really behind those rules? The constant hand sanitizing, the extreme distancing, the guilt trips about socializing, it all came from Robyn's house. And Kody adopted those protocols like gospel. He held every other wife and child to that standard. And if they didn't comply, he cut them off. Christine's kids, Janelle's boys, even Mary, none of them got grace. Meanwhile, Robyn's household became the gold standard. The one place he felt safe, or just controlled. And then there's how he treats the children. Gabe and Garrison were pushed away for questioning him. Savannah was forgotten on holidays. Christine's daughters barely registered on his radar. But Robyn's kids? Untouchable. He didn't just parent them, he praised them, protected them, and rearranged the entire family dynamic around them. Even as young adults, they remained under his roof, under Robyn's protection, while the rest of the kids were expected to figure it out on their own. That's not normal, that's not fair. And it's certainly not fatherhood. Robyn's influence isn't loud, but it's everywhere. In Kody's shifting loyalty, in his double standards, in the way he rewrites history to make himself the victim. And what's worse is that he can't even see it. He blames Christine and Janelle for leaving, but never once questions why he allowed one wife to shape every decision while the others were ignored. The truth is, Kody didn't lose control. He gave it away. And Robyn was more than ready to take it. There's a difference between being a strict parent and just not showing up. And what the cameras caught over and over again was Kody Brown not showing up. Not for Gabe, not for Garrison, not for Savannah. These weren't minor slip-ups. These were patterns of emotional neglect that played out in real time in front of millions of viewers. And while Kody painted himself as the misunderstood father, what we really saw was a man who had checked out the moment. Things got hard, unless, of course, it involved Robyn's kids. Let's start with Gabe and Garrison. These boys didn't ask for conflict, they asked for connection. But the moment they questioned Kody's rules, he labeled them rebellious. They didn't cut him off, he cut them off. On camera, Kody openly stated he wouldn't reach out unless they apologized. Apologize for what? Wanting to see their family? Trying to maintain relationships outside of Robyn's carefully quarantined bubble? It was emotional blackmail disguised as boundaries. And then there's Savannah. The heartbreak on her face when she realized her dad didn't come for Christmas wasn't just hard to watch, it was unforgivable. She didn't even get a phone call, not a card, nothing. It wasn't just a scheduling issue, it was a choice. Kody chose to be absent, and he justified it with excuses that no real father would lean on. When Janelle confronted him about it, he deflected again, because in his world, it's always someone else's fault. Now compare that to how he treated Robyn's kids. Every single decision Kody made, from where they lived to who he visited, revolved around making sure Robyn's children felt safe, secure, and protected. When Robyn's daughter Aurora had a panic attack over the idea of switching schools, it became a full-blown crisis. He was at her side, validating every fear. But when Christine's daughters were yanked from their routines and friends to move to Flagstaff, there was no emotional support, no concern, just deal with it. Robyn's kids were never told to tough it out. They were coddled, sheltered, and insulated from every inconvenience. And while there's nothing wrong with wanting to protect your kids, there is something very wrong with doing it at the expense of every other child in your family. The contrast was painful and obvious. What we saw wasn't a father navigating a tough situation. We saw a man who picked favorites and didn't even try to hide it. Kody talks about loyalty, but he only shows up for the people who make his life easier. Everyone else gets labeled difficult, disloyal, or dangerous. But the footage doesn't lie. The kids didn't turn on Kody. He turned his back on them. And they're finally old enough to say it out loud. Robyn wanted everyone to see her as the ultimate nurturer. The calm, wise mother who held it all together while the other households crumbled. But the truth? That image was never built on strength. It was built on control, on carefully shielding her kids from any form of discomfort, while expecting the rest of the family to simply push through pain, loss, and chaos. And now, that illusion of perfect mom is cracking under its own weight. The panic attack scenes told us everything. When the family faced the possibility of moving, something every other household had dealt with more than once, Robyn's daughter, Aurora, spiraled at just the mention of switching schools. And the way it was handled? Like it was a 5-alarm emergency. Everyone had to pause, reassure, tiptoe. And when Robyn said that Aurora's panic attacks start when someone just mentions a major life change, it wasn't hard to connect the dots. This wasn't just anxiety. It was a reaction born from years of being overprotected from the real world. Meanwhile, Christine's kids had to move states, lose scholarships, change schools, and leave friends behind, without warning or emotional support. There were no extended sit-downs, no gentle negotiations, no family councils. They were just expected to get over it. That double standard is where Robyn's whole persona falls apart. If you're going to raise your children in a plural family under one roof or not, all kids should matter equally. But that's never been the case. Robyn raised her kids like glass. She presented it as love, but it wasn't preparation. It was insulation. Instead of helping them build resilience, she tried to eliminate all risk, all discomfort, all unpredictability. And the result? A household full of young adults who are terrified of change, deeply dependent, and emotionally overwhelmed by basic life transitions. That's not nurturing. That's emotional captivity. There's even more evidence of this when you look at how long Robyn's kids have stayed under her roof. While nearly all of Christine and Janelle's kids have moved out, built lives, served in the military, gone to school, started families. Robyn's children remained tightly bound to her household. And still, Kody praises her parenting as if independence is something to be avoided rather than celebrated. The show gave us moments where Robyn's tone shifted, when she cried over the loss of control, not the loss of connection. Her devastation over Christine leaving wasn't about a real bond ending. It was about losing the image, losing the authority. The script she'd been clinging to started falling apart, and she didn't know how to stop the cameras from rolling. This wasn't a mother doing her best. This was a woman. Building a protected bubble for her household, while quietly letting the rest of the family collapse. Robyn didn't unify anything, she divided it. And now the cracks are too wide to hide. The perfect mom mask has slipped, and what's underneath looks a lot more like fear than wisdom. Mary's story in this family isn't just about pain, it's about silence, avoidance, and the kind of loyalty that turns toxic over time. For years, she was framed as the first wife, the one who started it all, the one who held the spiritual foundation of the family. But what actually played out in front of the cameras was a pattern of emotional manipulation, strategic silence, and a refusal to truly own her part in the chaos. Let's start with her dynamic with Leon. That relationship was already fragile when the cameras started rolling, but over the years, we watched Mary put her own hurt at the center of every conversation. When Leon asked for space and boundaries, Mary made it about how much she missed the closeness they once had. Instead of respecting the shift in their relationship, she kept circling back to her own feelings. Like if Leon could just see how much she was hurting, everything would snap back into place. That's not connection. That's pressure. And it didn't stop there. During the catfishing scandal, Mary's emotions were on full display. But so was her skill at playing both sides. She became the scapegoat for a lot of the family's breakdown, especially after the emotional voicemails leaked. But instead of using that moment to be radically honest, she stayed vague. She never directly admitted what happened. She never offered clarity. She kept just enough distance to protect her image, but not enough to repair any real damage. That kind of halfway accountability doesn't heal anything. It just keeps wounds open. Then there's her silence. When Kody started favoring Robyn, when Christine was being pushed out, when Janelle was standing up for her kids, Mary said almost nothing. She watched the family fracture and stayed in the background, quietly trying to stay on everyone's good side. But later, her interviews dripped with resentment. She talked about being misunderstood, about feeling excluded. But she never really asked, did she allow that exclusion by choosing silence when others needed her voice? Mary was hurt, but she also hurt others. And her refusal to fully admit that makes her part of the problem, not just a victim of it. It takes a special kind of nerve to accuse your own children of gaslighting you on national television, especially when the behavior you're describing looks a lot more like your own. But that's exactly what Kody did. He looked into the camera and claimed that Gabriel, his son, was gaslighting him. Not because Gabe twisted facts or manipulated truth, but because Gabe remembered the rules. Because Gabe didn't fold. Kody didn't just miss the mark. He weaponized a word he clearly doesn't understand, all to dodge the real issue. He wasn't being a father. The truth is, gaslighting is exactly what Kody's been doing for years. Rewriting history to suit himself. Shifting blame so he never has to feel the sting of accountability. He's used emotional guilt, favoritism, and distance as tools of control, while telling the world he's just a misunderstood dad. But we've seen the footage. We watched as he said his sons were dead to him during a time capsule segment. We watched him criticize them publicly, insult their maturity, and then turn around and act shocked when they didn't come running back to fix the relationship. And this isn't just about hurt feelings. This is about a man who only showed up when someone made it easy for him. When Christine and Janelle supported the relationships, he was there. When they stopped, so did he. He called it being blocked, but it was really just laziness wrapped in self-pity. He couldn't be bothered to learn how to parent his kids without a wife doing the work for him. He didn't try. He waited for someone to fix it for him. Kody likes to say he's about unity, but his actions scream division. He tells Janelle and Christine they removed him from the environment he used to parent in, as if that excuses years of absence. Single dads across the world find a way to stay present. Kody found excuses. He acts like fatherhood is a group project, and if the mothers won't spoon feed him access, then he gets to walk away clean. That's not parenting. That's abandonment. And the more he talks, the more transparent it becomes. The man who accuses others of emotional manipulation is the one who's been doing it all along. The father who says he's heartbroken is the same one who vanished at Christmas. The husband who cries betrayal is the same one who gave his loyalty to one wife and called it plural love. So now, as the family steps back and speaks up, as the kids stop protecting him, the image he and Robyn clung to is falling apart. The loyal father, the wise husband, the perfect wife, they were all stories told for the cameras, but real life doesn't follow scripts. And the truth has finally caught up. At the heart of all this chaos is a simple truth. The real damage wasn't from the drama or the breakups. It came from control. From a family caught in a web of manipulation, favoritism, and silence, where love was conditional and freedom was limited. Kody's need to control the narrative, Robyn's overprotection, and Mary's quiet complicity didn't just fracture relationships, they crushed the very foundation of trust and connection. This story isn't just about one family. It's about what happens when power gets twisted into a weapon, and when those who should protect instead isolate. Watching all this unfold, it's hard not to feel the weight of what's lost and wonder if healing is even possible. What do you think? Have you seen the cracks behind the scenes? Share your thoughts below. I want to hear your side. Don't forget to subscribe to TLC Sister Wives Daily for more honest, real conversations about this family's ongoing story. Stay with me. There's still more to uncover.